We bless God for today that is Heritage Day. We Africans have come together to celebrate our heritage. And as the Paramount Chief of Africa, I'm asking all of you that is with me today on the Zoom and physically, what are you taking home as your heritage and what have you kept as your heritage? The essence of the heritage is to pull together our resources, to remember our leftovers by our forefathers and ancestors, what they kept for us before leaving this earth. But you, as a human being that is training your children, and as a father, mother, as an African, what are you keeping for your children to inherit? Today being the Heritage Day, we are standing out to say to all Africans, be strong in all what you're doing. Be strong. Hold to what that have been given to you. Keep your heritage. Store your heritage. Keep it safe. And at the same time, be able to hand over that heritage to your children. It is important because when one misses his root, you are a lost person. And once you miss your root, you will not be able to coordinate whatever that dwells in your root. So as an African, let's be very, very outstanding in all that we are doing. This is my advice. Partake in this race of resuscitation, revival, and restoration of African dignity. Partake in the returns of the diaspora. Partake in the doors of returns as an African. Partake to make sure that you are really a proudly African in all that we do about our culture, customs, and tradition is very important. That's why we're celebrating today. So as you go home today, have it at the back of your mind that you have celebrated heritage with the Paramount Chief of Africa. And at the same time, you will look around your sphere and see what is important for you to inherit, or what has been kept for you to inherit, or what has been handed over to you, you treasure it. At this note, I say Uhuru. Enjoy the rest of the day. Bye. I am the Paramount Chief of Africa, calling all Africans to come together. Let's come together to save our fatherland. Our fatherland is crying with blood. Let's come together as brothers and sisters. Let's clean up the land of Africa. The land have suffered for so long. The time has come. Africa, together we stand.
So this is what I wanted to just share with you. Botswana, we've got a great heritage there, which we need to continue to look after it. There is what we call Okavango Delta. I need most of those who have never been to that place to enjoy going there. As an African, you will be welcomed in Botswana. There is nothing like crime is one of the things that Botswana is totally against. So if you come with your attitude of, I've got rights, I've got these from other countries, when you go to Botswana, you must be careful because your rights are not what Botswana has approved when it comes to violating your other people's rights based on your own right. So if you go there, or if you're a youth and you start spinning cars in there, that is a serious offense. There's a great discipline in Botswana. It's not an oppression, it's a discipline, because if we come to a point where we think disciplining our youth or our children becomes an oppression, then we are starting to lose it. So heritage, let's take care of what belongs to us in a good way. Again, that parable, when the Lord said, drive it, drive the money that I'm leaving in your hands so that you can profit. If you allow money to be the one that drives you, then you will be corrupt. Then we are in danger. So we don't need leaders who are driven by money or the love of money, actually. So we need leaders that are able to make use of the whatever is in their hands to profit the entire nation. And that's what the king wants to see when he comes back. Your profit, this is what I've done with what I have. Foolish servants will just beat up everybody and collect whatever they have and put it aside for themselves. Another set of foolish servants are those who will not profit anything. They will just dig that money in a hole. When he comes back, he finds it exactly as it is. But the best servant is the one that will utilize it. When he comes back, he said, look, you have given me so much. Now I've profited so much out of it. That is our heritage we need to look after. And that's what Botswana is. Uhuru, Africa. Thank you, Your Majesty and Honorable MC and all the other ambassadors that are in here. Let us enjoy our Heritage Day. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Uhuru.
Thank you, Your Excellency.
All right, I want to give you 3 adages or proverbs, and then I can push over to Chief Mark. I will shift over to him to speak on African medicine as a heritage. Are we together? Do we want that? No. Ambassador and
Yes,
Lucy,
please,
is that
Your
okay?
Majesty. Yes, yes, Your Majesty. After that, I will present another dance. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I'm going to say to you, we have 3 adages here, and I will say the first one. As a king, we speak to our subjects through adage and adages. We speak to them because there are some enemies in the past that encroaches the kingdoms that we wouldn't want to wash our dirty linens in the public. So that is the meaning of adage and proverbs. Ilu, as one of the people explained in one of the write-ups they have given, is for the wisdom, is for the wise. The wise, those who are very fast in reasoning, are the ones who pick up the ilu, which is called adage or proverbs. So the essence of them saying that it is not always good to explain the proverbs when you have said it, is so that the enemy does not pick up the meaning while you are explaining to your subject that you have told that ilu. It means it becomes a waste because the enemy have already picked the meaning. So in those days, we use those ilu, our forefathers, of course. I have not reincarnated. So our forefathers, of course, were using the ilu to speak to people parabolically, rhetorically, not answerable, but to pick. So in these words, they say, Agbo turumbe turukukuru. What does that mean? It means that a snake that bites the tortoise bites the shell. I repeat, Agbo turumbe turukukuru. It means the snake that bites the shell. You know that tortoise has got a shell that covers it. So when he sees a snake, he goes into the shell. And the snake will go. The snake has not beaten the tortoise because the tortoise is inside. In other ways, he has beat the shell. So it makes no meaning. What does that mean? It means that he who is protected by his God does not feel any harm. Is that understood? Is that understood?
Your Majesty, could you please say it again? And also, if you can increase your volume, that would be very helpful. Thank you.
Ambassador Eli and my PC, I don't know what is really happening today. My voice, I'm actually screaming in this angle. Okay, I will try to increase. I said, the snake that bites the shell of a tortoise bites nothing, bites in vain. Okay? Bites in vain. That's what I have said. And what does that mean? It means, in my local language, that agwoturumbe turu okpokoro. Okpokoro means the shell. And I then explain it that it means that whoever that is protected by his God does not fear hurts. When I was growing up and I hear when people say uneasy lies the head that wears the crown, I would say, what? It's very beautiful to put on the crown. What is this person talking about? It's very beautiful to see the crown on the head of someone. But that's not what it means. It means that uneasy lies the head that takes decision. Uneasy lies the head that becomes the head of a certain community, of a certain kingdom, of a certain place. Uneasy lies that head. Why? Because while you are sleeping and snoring, that person is busy thinking of the whole kingdom or the whole people on what to do for them to better the living. But others will be sleeping. Why the head that wears that crown becomes troubled, unrest and restless, thinking of how to develop his people. Is that understood?
Yes, Your Majesty.
Uhuru. Lastly, I will just push it to Ambassador Mark to give us just 2 minutes of African medicine.
Uhuru, Africa. Uhuru, African medicine. Can you all hear me?
I think they muted, so they.
Now, look, Africa is the world is facing a crisis now, because what we have since 1935 is that the pharmaceuticals have taken over the medical industry, and as a result, health.
Could you please increase your volume? We could not hear you.
You need to come closer. Is there no way we can? Can you hear me now?
Better, yes.
Okay. Now, since 1935, Western medicine has been overtaken by the pharmaceuticals through the Rockefellers, and so doctors in the Western style are almost, I think, the second or third leading cause of death in the world. So what does that mean for us in Africa? Because Africans have started to call themselves black. And what does that truly mean? Because a black man is an African version of a white man. Rather, let us become African versions of Africans. So when it comes to medicine, since the 1935, when the Rockefellers took over through the pharmaceuticals and through the media, took over medicine and crushed all natural healing. Only in Africa has certain traditions maintained themselves. Now, what happens in an African system is it's a holistic, integrative system. So you cannot separate God from yourself and you cannot separate family from yourself, and you cannot separate nature from yourself. So with this system, you can have health, and in a natural way, because in other people's systems, they've got a lot of hype, a lot of money, but there's very little health. So you cannot take health and think that you can take a pill and live in a crazy manner that is actually destroying your body, and then think I can take a pill as a remedy. No, you can't. So you have to get back to your roots, which is holistic and integrative and Ubuntu based. So that whole system is inside versus outside, because until we get to that, we can talk about the various herbs, and all allopathic medicines come from herbs, come from what is God has given us free. And these greedy people have taken over and tried, patented, cause you to actually get ill in many ways, and then give you another pill to fix that thing, and then that pill needs another pill to fix that. By the time you're finished, you actually are a drug addict, because you're running there to get medicines. And now we are facing a real crisis. It's really, it's a perceived crisis as well as a concocted crisis, which doesn't truly exist, because what we've been told today is that we must be scared of something that has very little death rate. And we've been forced into a situation whereby all our rights are being observed, and science has actually been thrown out the window. Because when you start thinking that you do not have to live in a right way, think in a right way, and breathe is essential, breath. So by putting a mask on, two things happen. One is you restrict the oxygen into your brain, which stops critical thinking. And when you lose critical thinking, you are then become a mampara. And for those of you that don't know what mampara means, you become stupid. And you are then subject to all kinds of falsehoods. The second thing is that you become a breeding ground for bacterial pneumonias. So
And you are dehuminated.
And never mind that the fact is, by wearing a mask, it proves that you love Satan, because that is satanic ritual abuse. They all wear masks. So I think fundamentally we can talk about the value of herbs and blah, blah, blah. But what we need to know is that we have to be holistic. Because if you think in a terrible way and your mind is filled with rage and anger, your body will get sick to show that. So I do believe now that we have to stand up and claim our heritage, our rights as humans. And everyone has the Holy Spirit of God within them. And all healing is possible through that. UHURU,
Africa. Wow, wow. Let's give Ambassador Mark an applaud. I would say to you, the reason why I asked Ambassador Mark to come in at this time was just because our caption for this year heritage is healing. Am I right, Ambassador PC? Prime Chancellor,
Yeah.
am I right?
Yes, we have proposed that to be the theme of this year, to be
Thank you.
healing and justice.
Yes, and
Thank you.
cheers to healing and justice to all Africans. And I say that healing and justice, particularly healing, is not only about our health, it's not only about the African medicine, It is healing out of everything that Africans have faced. Healing out of all ramifications of life. Healing out of all oppressions, humiliations, dejections, and subjections to nobody in the West, in the African continent. And this is exactly what you have just preached about. Uhuru.
Africa.
In Africa, we have got those who have the brain. I often say that, but they have no money. And those who have money, they have no brain. And they tend to complicate the matter of the African continent and at the same time the populace and the descent in the diaspora. As an African, I think the first thing that every one of us must do is to make sure that as an African, you are cultured in what we should have locally, in what makes you up as an African. If I am to recommend, I should have said that on the primary school level, we should all learn what it takes to be an African. Who are these Africans? Where do they come from? Where do they migrate from? What is their history? Very important. But the problem we have is the Western world will pose to us the mountains that we have in Africa, the longest river we have in Africa, the highest mountain top we have in Africa. And who are the world powers? This is what you study as you are trying to get educated. Then I ask a question, who set the pest? Who says that you must know when Bill Gates was born before you pass your entrance? When whoever in the Western world first got into Africa, like Lord Lugard, before you pass your exams. Excuse my word, bullshit. And I say to every African who set the pest, what pest have you set as a father for your children to inherit in African, as an African, and as a proudly African? And that is me as the paramount chief of Africa. I trade all over saying that as far as I'm concerned, and as the paramount chief of Africa, King Francis, I stand to say no to Western intimidations. And why did I say that? I said enough is enough. It is time for us to stand and be able to develop our own system as Africans. Investments as Africans, jobs as Africans, and with the local things we have, which we are ignoring, fighting on top, throwing punches on the top. And on the ground level, the Western world are taking up the resources and saying, stupid people, they must fight so that we can survive. Enough is enough. And as an African, it is time for you to stand out. Within your sphere, don't ask me how do we do this, because we're not here today to talk. We're here to have solution. It's not how do I do it. Start with your local constituency, your sphere, your family. Charity begins at home. Begin to teach them stories. Begin to affect them by your own attitude and character. It can dominate that sphere And another person, another person, another person, the sphere will degenerate to a kingdom. I then tell you, as the paramount chief of Africa, and according to my story, which I always tell, the migration story of Africa before and after the amalgamation of the West by Lord Lugard through the West to Central Africa and degenerates into the southern regions. As an African, we were centralized by the African, Central Africa, Congo DLC and all that. And two brothers did what? Two brothers came up and said that we are going to make sure that we trade out. They say we are going to make sure we trade out the African country. And why did they say they are going to make sure they trade out the African country? It wasn't Africa, it was Abasembo. Africa was not our name. But we answer it because who are we? We were forced to be Africans and called Africans. Who told you you were an African? We were Abasembo. And that is the movement that started in 1800s in the southern region and 1300s in other parts of Africa, where they trade, like for instance, in the southern region where I settled, we had those who developed themselves and say, you know what, we will trade the whole Africa. And these three brothers came out of Congo DLC and traded into southern Africa. And as they were trading, they were traded as the Shubis, the Bantus, from Bantus to Shubis, Shubis to Bembes, and Bembes to the Klubis, into the southern regions. And they met the Khois, or the San. They met the San in this land of southern region. And as they were trading, there are similarities that cannot be forgotten. And I keep telling the story so that everybody who comes on board knows that Africans are one. They traded and traded. Like I said, first as the Bantus, Bantus to Shubis, Shubis to the Bembes, Bembes to Klubis. And today, similarities permits it for you to see and hear that we have those who answer Chitinkul in Zambia, Malawi. And we have those who answer in South Africa, Mtimkul. I repeat, Mtimkul. And what is Mtimkul? The Baoba. The Baoba. Baoba 3, Oji. Oji, Baoba, Mtimkul, Chitinkul. Why do you fight? What are you fighting for? We have the Lomos from Egypt, and we have Nglomos here in southern region. We have Waneris in the west, and we have the Moneris and Neris here in southern region. How did they migrate? They migrated from Congo DLC into Malawi, Ngonis, and traded into Zimbabwe as the Bembes, and Bembes into South Africa, and they arrived at Limpopo to Rustenburg, Rustenburg to Escort, Escort to Eastern Cape to Mpumalanga, and they settled. And from there, it did not end there. They still migrated as the Ndlaminis. And Ndlaminis are Eswatini today, which is Swaziland. And that is where you have King Mswati, who I'm very proud of as an African king, who has stood the test of time as a monarch of Africa. We are unadulterated in the past, but today we are adulterated completely. So as an African, stand up to say who said the pest that education is, who said the pest and not Swahili. We had Swahili, we had the Tekelekwa, and we have the protocol in the past that started where the lingua francas of our forefathers trading across the borders, but today has all depreciated. The only one that stands the test of time is Swahili. And as we are in the afternoon, I say to you almost in the afternoon, okay, let me say, habari za Asambiri. Habari za Asambiri is in the morning, and I say mshana wema for afternoon. These are the languages we should be proud of. Having said all this, I go again to Morocco, where we have King Mohammed the first, for instance. These are those who have stood the test of time. But the question I want to leave you today with is, why must we, the Africans, sit back to seek Western intervention when we are fighting? Why must we sit back to wait for the Westerners to settle our case or cases? For what purpose? Who said the pest? And why must it be so? Why shouldn't we sit together as Africans the way we used to be during our moonlight stories? In the evenings, eat from one bowl and solve our issues. Africans have always been travelers within the African continent. And I tell you today, while I'm proudly Africans and unapologetically, I release this to you. As an African, we can contend the whole world. And I said it with audacity. I am not saying this, framing it, or probably trying to patronize you or patronize myself. No, I'm saying the real fact. African continent can contend the whole world, and we will still be airy and content of what we have. Lastly, let us stop extractions of our natural resources. And I will challenge you, ambassadors, to hold to this very comment I'm making at the moment. Let us stop extracting our natural resources. Let us do monetizing. I repeat, monetizing. Let us monetize our natural resources. If they say the geological report came out to be that there are goals here or whatever that is in the ground, do not allow extraction. Let us do what we call monetizing. The value of what we have on the ground can be given to us and can be backed up with our currency. And so many other things to be done. And they could help us based on what we have on the ground. Uhuru.
Africa.
Uhuru.
Africa.
Uhuru.
Africa.
Asante sana.
Okay.
Okay, Congo DRC. Let's hear from him.
Yes, okay. Thank you
Please.
for that invitation. I'm the king of Kingdom and the Fumu de Fimantino from DRC. Do you hear me? Okay.
We can hear you. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. And as I say, I'm sorry, I have to go now to another meeting state. And next time, if we have more time where we have to talk. But now I'm just think Francis said to think about how to make all the kings, African kings together, how to think about African development, and how to build a lobby for our community, for our trading. But next time, many blessings to everyone, and let the Almighty and our ancestors bless all of the kingdom. Thank you. That's all I have to say for today. Thank you. Many.
Ekbe is which means lion, is a traditional secret society originated from the Akoi tribes in Cross River State. This masquerade that you're seeing is a traditional masquerade. It is most popular in Calabar and Oro Nation of Okunwudo. So here in Nigeria, Efik precisely, the Ekpe culture that you're seeing on the screen is our traditional play, is something that we do yearly. So we gather all the old nations and all the countries, different states that will come down to Cross River State, Calabar precisely, so that all of them can come down to watch all these things that you're seeing here. In the ancient time, and as recently as the 17th century CE, the driver and the bearer of this masquerade was an invoked ancestor who was the leader or high-ranking member of the court, and no one would know the actual identity of the long-dead ancestor. Not even the members of the secret society. However, in modern time, and the traditional has evolved away from deep spirituality and remain only notable as symbolic culture. The bearer of the masquerade in this age is a living man who goes through an intense ritual and pouring of libation to ask permission, wisdom, and guidance of their ancestors before it bears the responsibility of driving the masquerade. Hello, are we still there?
Yes, we're with you. Go ahead. Interesting culture. Go ahead.
Thank you, His Royal Majesty. Okay, it's still the next one. Unlike Ekpo or the masquerade is not a variety of masquerade cult, but one traditional cult with the same cult value, known in different locality by slightly differently named Ekpe and Nkpe. Ekpe is the meaning of Ekpe is lion. Lion live in a jungle, and it is always the highest and the most prestigious masquerade in the locality where it exists. Just like the lion is known to be the king of its habitat. As many Ekpe rituals and ceremonies required utmost masculinities, and also women are also traditionally prohibited from proximity to any aspect of the cult except for wife and daughters of high rank members who are ceremonially initiated as distant observers rather than a a participant. However, women have their counterpart high status, like Abang. There's something that we call Abang and a Kombi. A Kombi is like our cultural dance, or Moyum Kem, from which men are strictly forbidden. In ancient time, it was typically for young females to be initiated into one of the highly extracted female society, while young boys will attain their highest discipline within the Ekpe masquerade clan. In its vastness, the Ekpe is a well-structured society with semi-caste characteristics, in that there are categories and titles which one may qualify to be initiated into, while others are strictly reserved for person or certain status and background. However, based on merits, one from lower categories may find favor being initiated to a higher level if is successfully completed the necessary rituals and 12 tests that may last a week. The Ekpe parade traditionally happen at the end of every year, a period of 7 days, which means Ukabadiswa. Ukabadiswa is the end of every year over a period of 7 days, in which many Ekpe perform spiritually guided work that include Yoro and Yorekbe. Yorekbe means randomly spin from a certain starting point in town to the palace of the traditional ruler. The traditional ruler and the senior member of the cult will perform libation of white wines or other spirits to honor the founding fathers by calling out their names after the expression Oje, Oje, Barab, Barab, which means order in O in Ejagam language, followed by the subject names of proximal clans and locality in which the cult dwells. Suggestion unity. The most notable element of the Ekpe cult art form is the masquerade itself, which is designed originally red and black, but also, though rarely in other colors, with a big round glaton one at the upper body section to present the mane of the lion, small version around the ankle called Mbaritam, Mbat, the smaller version around the waist called Itongubok, Etam. The masquerade hold a bunch of ebotu, leaf in the left hand and long staff in the right. What the two symbolize cannot fully be established beyond spiritual authority and leadership authority. However, in ancient time, it was popular that is the Ekpe strike a person with the leaf. You can see the leaf on his hand. The word as that simply means casting out the evil from the person. On the other hand, if the Ekpe struck the person with the staff, that will be the end. Faction in different areas across the Cross River region. They all communicate in the same Nsebidi gesture and symbols. If one group comes face to face with another group on the streets, one must prove its originality by giving accurate response to a certain Nsebidi, usually a non-verbal readers. If the other group give a correct non-verbal answer, it validates its genuineness and the group can move on the peaceful.
I cannot talk now. I'm on a Zoom call. I'll call you back. I'm still on Zoom call, okay?
Hello? Hello?
Go ahead.
Hello?
Yes, continue. We can hear you.
Are we still there? Okay, thank you very much. Is Royal Highness. And the Ekpe cult is not a typical dance group and stand out as one of the most prestigious masquerade in West Africa. In that, though it appears to be just an art formed during the Ukabadiswa festival, it operated as a complete civilized society within a larger society, serving as law enforcement, and also with the judiciary and even a spiritually consultation as a tradition, as it is. The senior member of the cult also initiated, trained, and coronated rulers of the land. Even till this day, though the influence of the cults also slowly fed due to the globalization, purity, and lack of interest in young people to carry on the traditional. The Ekpe remains the custodians of the Efik cultural heritage. Thank you very much, and God bless us.
All right, I'm saying that it's a very interesting story and a powerful culture, customs, and tradition of the western side, which is called the Efik or the Calabar and or Uyo. I'm very impressed to get this. I see someone is raising hand, but Ambassador Elaine, you can attend to that, but let me round up with this. This is a very powerful one. You know, in Africa, there are initiating masquerades, and there are masquerades that we play just for entertainment, and there are masquerades that are there for initiations. I think this particular masquerade he's talking about is a very strong masquerade that we use on both scenarios and probably soften up the appearances. We soften up the appearances. It's a very strong one, I must tell you. It's a masquerade that when you visit or they visit, you must know that a lot is going on or a lot is about to happen. I thank you once more again, Emmanuel Okun. Thanks a lot. You have just given us a very rich culture, customs that we in Africa should always look forward to and keep developing. Uhuru.
Africa.
Africa. Thank you, His Royal Majesty, and all the ambassadors. Thank you very much, please.
Thank you so much again, Ambassador Emmanuel Okun. And thank you, Your Majesty, for the enlightenment. At this juncture, it is actually 20 minutes past our planned closing ceremony. And Your Majesty, would you like to help us to close the ceremony?
All right,
This
before I
amazing-
close the ceremony,
Yes.
I'm going to end it up with a dance and call Joy, please. I'm going to end it up with a ceremonial dance of the West, where that says most of the times that we always have what is called merriment celebration of the king, because the king is not complete in the whole of African continent. The king is not complete until his subjects comes together to embrace him and say that we are together with you. On that content, I'm going to make sure that I have my subjects around me and those who are with me also in the council for us to say goodbye for today. But before I say that, you remember last year, there is a kind of a fairy tale I told with my children in my palace. I was seated in my palace while I was telling that story. And I said it's about an animal. I want to tell a different one, and that is mark on greediness. Greediness, say with me, greedy.
Greedy.
All right. We have always marked tortoise. We have always marked tortoise as a greedy animal. And a time comes when tortoise decide to trick other animal and told them that there is a party in a third heaven where they must attend. But as the king of animals in those days, he wished that they all carried him since he does not have a feather to fly. And they all opted to fly with him on the fact that they are going to eat. And as they are going to eat, tortoise must carry them along and everybody must feed nicely. But before they go, tortoise said to them, we need to choose our names. And the names everybody must choose is applicable to what will happen when they go for the ceremony. Now, tortoise decided to say, my name is Ass. This is for you. You, us. And then others begin to choose other funny names and all that without knowing the intentions of the tortoise. So when they arrive in the occasion, and that is Yokoko, Yokoko, Yokoko. Say with me, Yokoko, Joy. Yokoko. Omunnu na-ejewala n'eluigwe. Yokoko, Yokoko, Yoko. Omunnu na-ejewala n'eluigwe. Yokoko, Yokoko, Yoko. So they all fly to heaven, the third heaven. They were all going to heaven. And as they were going to heaven, they were all joyous that we are going to eat today nicely. And when they got there, every food that was brought, they say, this is for you, for us. And who is the name that bears us and you is tortoise. So the food will go to tortoise. And the other animal will keep quiet, looking at tortoise. He will eat and eat and eat. Another food will come again. They say, this is for you, us. He eats again and eat. So other animal become angry because tortoise have no what? Feather to fly. He has no feather. They brought him to heaven, the third heaven, isn't it? To have the meeting of eating. And so tortoise was feeding himself and become very big. So the whole animal got angry. And when they got angry, what happened? They said, we're gonna leave tortoise on this top tree and see how he will come down. He has eaten and he has well fed. He's been well fed and ordered. So they left him on the top. And you know what happened? Tortoise became devastated. He has no means of crawling from the top to down. And then what happened? Well, he has to take a last decision to throw himself from the top to down. And that is why the body of tortoise is what? Broken in patches. If you see the body of tortoise is broken into pieces and patches and what, it was because of his greed. The lesson of this story is that all Africans should learn to contain themselves and eat together. Do not eat more than your brother, because the food is just for you to last for another day. I love what Muslims do say. They say, Inshallah. Inshallah, the food will come again tomorrow. Inshallah, the God that provides today will provide tomorrow. Let us Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim. And that will be done.
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. So I am saying this is what our Muslim brothers does. And because our Muslim brothers does that, let us all Africans concord to eating and let your brother eat. Do not eat alone. That's greediness. You only become fat and become big for nothing. At the end of the day, that food will never save you. So I am saying that let us all come together as one, be strong, eat, and let your brother eat. Let your brother survive. Let your brother dine from what you have. This is my story. On this note, I'm going to be giving my vote of thanks, and I will call on all my crew to stand behind me. Come on. I don't know how far we could be seen. John, come over this way. Let the lady be next. You be behind me. You are taller than her. We are not seeing you. Be. Can we see each other here? View through here. Uhuru.
Africa.
Uhuru.
Africa.
Uhuru.
Africa.
Together we stand.
Africa.
Together we stand.
Africa.
Together we stand.
Africa.
Together we stand.
Africa.
Africa. Together we stand.